I'm just going to start now.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining. And welcome to this week's Product People event, our weekly live stream sessions. Before we start, please remember that you can watch these streams on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Twitch. And do remember that this talk will be recorded and available on YouTube if you want. You can share it afterwards with your fellow PMs or colleagues. Just head over to our YouTube channel. I should let you all know that we do have a Slido running. This is for all of the live audience. Do feel free to, or rather, do go ahead and either scan the QR code on the left, or you could even go over to slido.com, enter the code that is provided. This will help us, ask you questions, and also for you to leave any questions of your own with us as well. But in the start, we will be asking questions. We would love to get to know the audience a little bit better. So do go ahead, log into Slido. You can use the code, or you can just scan the QR code. um, we would love to jump ahead into what we're going to be talking about today. So today we are joined by Mihai Zaharia, who is the former director of product management at Estee Lauder. And the topic for today's session is product management when your users are inside the company. So, product management when your users are inside the company. I think it's going to be an exciting one for all PMs who have internal products or internal users. Um, just a quick, perhaps, an introduction of myself. My name is Mirza. I am a product management consultant at Product People. I have a background of product operations and product management for about more than 6 years. Worked in various different companies and industries across B2C, B2B, B2B2C, in in I would say fintech, in resourcing, resource planning, in even in let's say financial management as well. A bit of an introduction about Product People, what we do. Essentially, we offer interim product management, product operations, and transformation acceleration services. We do this via our in-house staff, and essentially, our mission is to help companies discover and deliver great products faster. So we do interim product management and empower the product management community to share knowledge generously while managing the hands-on work of a product manager. So these events, such as this one, is essentially how we give back to the community, and our services are how we make money. So I would also encourage everybody to join our communities, our online communities. We do have about 60,000 and more members. Right. Now, getting to know our audience for today. Again, you can join the Slido using the code or the QR code or the other numeric code that is given. So we would love to ask a question. This is for us to, again, get to know our audience a little bit better. And perhaps we can even tailor today's live stream better depending on the audience. Now, the question is that what is the biggest challenge of managing an internal product? So, what's the biggest challenge when managing an internal product? Option A could be balancing competing stakeholder requests. B, prioritizing long term value over urgent delivery. Or C, driving adoption across internal teams. Or D, demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics. As a bit of a specific situation here, again, balancing competing stakeholder requests, prioritizing long term value over urgent delivery, driving adoption across internal teams, or demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics. So we're talking about what you, our viewer, or any other PMs, what is the biggest challenge of managing an internal product? We are getting some answers, we are getting them, but if you're just joining us, would love to get to know you, get to know you better, and how you manage your internal products. So we do have an answer. We do have a couple of answers, and they are coming to a bit of a split. So 33% of our users have gone to option C, driving adoption. They see that as the biggest challenge. Um, we've seen a jump now. So option D, demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics, that is accounting for 56% of all the viewers today. So I think that definitely holds the majority, and seen a reduction in option C and in option A. So 20%, 20%, um, and the vast majority of users here think demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics is the biggest challenge. All right. So then let me take it one step forward and introduce to you, or rather introduce again, the speaker for our session today. Right, Mihai, we're going to talk about product management when users are inside the company. Mihai, over to you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for the intro. Hello, product people community. I'm so happy to be here. I hope I can share something useful for you, and any debate and questions are good at the end of this presentation. I prepared something, but I hope it would help. But let's start with the very beginning. Most people assume an internal platform is the easy version of the job, right? However, what you found in reality when you're doing it is the exact opposite. It's much more complicated because your users can't leave, right? And they aren't paying. And more than that, they have a bosses that told them to use that. So they have no reason to tell you the truth. So what's the thing? What are your levers? What you can actually use to know that you're doing a good job? Okay. So that would be the context. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I've started doing product management in 2015. I first worked on Netop Remote Control, and that's a product that secured access, remote access to all sorts of machines. And my favorite use case was that this tool was actually used to secure access to the ATM host operating system. Then I moved to be Defender. At the moment, they wanted to build a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs at home, and that was Defender Central. I've passed by Acronis to work on their mobile offering for MSPs, and for 4 years after that, I've been with Estee Lauder in the IT organization to work on more than 10 internal platforms portfolio. On the leadership side of things, I've built several departments, QA, infrastructure, product management. I co-founded the data and advanced analytics department, and I even ran a transformation program from project to product operating model. And that actually gave me a lot of insight and context on what's different in internal versus external facing roles. Now, something that I'm proud at a personal level is that for the last 4 years, I've discovered mentoring, and I love doing it ever since. And starting with this year, actually, so not 2025, but 2026, it's a typo. I've started mentoring startup founders as well. So if you think I can be of service to you, let's get in contact and see what I can do and what we can do together. Now, getting back, so we have two worlds: the customer products, where you are external facing, and the internal platforms, where you are internal facing. How are they different? So let's take it from the typical understanding. When you're working in a customer facing role on a commercial product, what do? What is your typical setup? You start from evaluate and working on the product market fit. So there is a problem. There is a problem that is repeating. It has consistency. It's not going away. You have a solution. That solution is solving the problem good enough, and you start from that. You build a product, fine. You do A/B testing, maybe you gather community feedback, and that's something that I really love to have, that community feedback, right? And because this is going to be here to make some money, and that's a proof you're doing a good job, you also look at the competition, what can actually disrupt you. So you're doing a continuous competitive analysis. More than that, you have to manage the internal chaos, the multiple teams working with you to achieve that successful delivery of a product, and you do roadmaps, right? And because nothing actually happens without a good sales strategy and marketing strategy, you also have the GTMs. And to make sure you're well aligned inside the organization and you know your thing, you put analytics in place. For what? For acquisition, for retention, for usage. Fine. But the critical question is, how do you know you're actually successful? How do people judge you at the end? And the thing is, what's the answer? I mean, what would actually tell you that you're a true success? And the success is this: you're visible in the revenue and the company valuation. Revenue is the most concrete and solid form of success for your product. The company valuation is going to grow because your product is generating strong revenue and has a good perspective in the market. How are things differently now for internal platforms? And now let's see how the setup looks like for internal platforms. Now, you have the good, the bad, and the uglies, or maybe the challenges and opportunities that are coming with an internal platform. You have captive users. Now, the thing is, they can't churn, they must use it. In most cases, their bosses force them to use it, right? You have usage stats, and this is actually important because they are used all across the board, right? And everybody wants to look at that in QBRs and so on. But the thing is, are the usage stats helpful? Are they telling something important, something compelling to you or not? In the very beginning, you believe there is no competitor, and that's actually rather dangerous. And the thing and the question that you have to keep in mind is the landscape more complex? Is it something that we're missing from the conversation? And then there is this entire internal thing that actually forces you to look in the delivery KPIs. Like, I know that I have to deliver on time and on budget, but is my job only that? Because the PM role is somehow about something different and not just delivering on time and on budget. And then the last part, and the one that is killing most of the people when doing an internal platforms product management role, is the unclear ownership. Who owns what? What I want you to do now is bear with me and let's go through each of them and see what is actually all about. And we'll start with the captive users. Now, what we know is they can't churn. In a free market, revenue and usage will give you honesty for free. Internally, you have to engineer it. And the thing is how you can actually engineer it, because the process, the procedures, the policies were defined to support the adoption. That's not working against you, right? Are they telling the truth in users' interviews? The honesty is we don't know. What we do know is that for sure they are honest when something is not working. However, there is an opportunity that you need to tackle in this, and this is, okay, I'm not going to believe everything that is told to me. I'm not going to believe any sort of dashboard that currently exists. I need to see it in the context. So I can come with my own policy, and that's something that I advise all of you. Nothing ships to production without full analytics. And now there is a trick into that. It's easy to put full analytics everywhere. Like everything is going to be logged, everything can after that be uploaded into a dashboard, fine. The trick is to have defined and instrumented flows. From the moment a user starts to use a feature, enters into a feature, to the moment it completes that flow generated by that feature. You want to know how much time they spent on each step of the flow, where they stayed longer, if they abandoned, if they saved something and they came back to that step. This is the one thing that you need to know. So that's the real thing on how they actually use it. The other one is shadow users and actually try to understand their emotion and their relationship with your platform. So how do they actually behave? Try to shadow them. It's impossible not to find a couple of them that would actually wanna do that. Because otherwise, what you get is this: traditional discovery fails when the users aren't candid. Yeah. So watch what they do, not what they say. That's it. Analytics without the context of the flow are rather useless, and the flow, having it measured end to end, it's actually the most important thing. Let's say you got this straight, and I would say most of us these days are easy to do that. They have all the tools, the power, the frameworks, the process to support them to put in the full analytics. What else? So I would say, who runs the show, right? So what happens when you are in a customer facing role? You are an owner. You have to make that market share. You have to get to that revenue. You have to sell it and so on. But when you're talking about internal stuff, what you're actually talking about, because you don't know who's in charge. It's often no single user, and accountability is by design diffused through a committee, right? I don't know. The first time I've been in front of such a committee, I was like, okay, what is happening? Who is owning what? And I was trying to relate to each of them as a need, what they want to achieve, and it was hard because the thing was, I knew that I'm solving a process problem, but the process owner wasn't not clear to me. The process was actually owned by, let's say, sub steps by four different departments, four different owners, senior leaders. So I know that's hard to tackle. And then there is another part of who runs the show. It's who owns the budget. That's not with you. That's with that committee, and they committed to a cost before the cost was actually truly known and properly estimated. Each of them give an amount of money from their own bucket. So we have to deal with that. And then, okay, let's say you cleared out and now you know who is the owner, who is the process owner, who is interested into solving that, who gives money, who gave most of the money and have the highest interest in getting the job done. That's important, and you can do that. Is who owns the roadmap. And now the thing is, when you're talking about the roadmap, your work is going to be contested, and it's going to be contested until the moment you make the trade-offs visible and you switch the conversation from focus from authority, I gave you the money, I gave you the team, right, to this is the evidence, this is how much we can actually do, this is the real team capacity and so on. But we'll get back to this topic. And the last one part to make it all more difficult for each of you, and I hope you recognizing yourself in each of these anti-patterns, let's say, is who signs off on the team structure. Because the org design shaped the way you can actually build the platform and maintain the platform before you start making an impact. I want to stress a little bit on this point because it's actually important for how you can actually do things. It's not up to you. It's hard to influence. It's not impossible. But where does this start from? A typical internal platform doesn't start as a platform, as a product with a good discipline, with strong principles of doing the work. It starts on a need that cannot, on a problem that cannot be anymore postponed in its resolution. And someone strong enough says, okay, I'm going to fix that. I know the fundamentals that I need to do to fix this problem. I need to have, I don't know, that sort of process data in there, and that's it. So it starts from something very specific, a very specific outcome. When you do that, as in the very beginning, you don't need the product manager. You need somebody that is focusing on the delivery side, right? So you will get engineers, you will get QA, you will get somebody to document what is happening, right? And you will get a project manager. So what you have is delivery, right now, right here. What happens after that is that other people start to become interested in that problem. And they say, hey, for that process, for this problem, I think it would also be good to have this sort of information. I also want somebody from my team, that typically solves that sort of thing, to be able to use the tool you built and put additional information in there, right? And additional validation, because that would make us all successful. The quality overall of the outcome would be better. And then it expands. And it expands up to the point where it becomes a platform with three different look and styles, right? And not necessarily what you would expect as a user experience. And that's the moment when the scaling forces the owner, right, to hire a product manager. So this is the landscape, the field where you're coming into. So it's not you, it's not necessarily them, it's how things are actually becoming a reality in an organization, right? Okay. Moving further. So what's the opportunity for you? What you can actually do and what would actually be highly valuable for your career into that? Understanding how this actually emerged and scaled as a platform. And when you're doing that, you're basically identifying the senior leaders that can actually help you. You will not succeed unless you're having an alliance in the respect of your senior execs. Praise those leaders because they allocated resources and professionals for a platform. Praise those that actually gave you an advice. And very important, what you promise is actually what you deliver. Okay. So in the very beginning, you have nothing else than the typical delivery KPI as a lever, which means deliver on time and on budget. And that is going to make you be perceived as good and reliable. Nobody, and that's very important, nobody will believe you that you're good in your job unless you can show control on that, on delivery, and that you deliver on time and on budget. Nothing else will matter until you reach this first milestone. The sooner you do it, the better you're going to be. Okay, so what you can actually do to move beyond this stage, right, is you made your first delivery, successful delivery. Yay, congrats. You hit on time and on budget. Now, those people in that committee that they steer your platform are going to listen to you. Now you're trustable. You will do it a second time. Now you're reliable. You can repeat that performance. Great. What you need to start doing in this moment is shift from focusing entirely on delivery on getting your message on the reality and the width of the platform. And that's okay. Here's the here's the roadmap, here's the status report, but look at the dependencies. This is the hidden cost made visible. These are the real effort estimates that we didn't have when we started the year. This is the real team capacity because, I don't know, we're also doing maintenance, we're also doing some discovery work. We're not just doing feature development, that's all, right? And that will help you steer the conversation from we delivered this to what we're trading to achieve something else. That's your North Star. How do I make this team of stakeholders, senior leaders, to answer the question, what are we trading to achieve something specific? Instead of deliver this, you will not achieve that without, again, delivering on time and on budget. That gives you the credibility in front of them. I have something like a process. I was trying once I figured it out that should be a process, I was trying to infuse that knowledge in my team. So I kind of build a process that I want to share with you. It's a 3 steps process, right? So where do you start? You start from a blocker stage, right? Where you're basically feeling the other side, the stakeholder as a broker for you. So you're doing the delivery, but you don't know how to continue, right? So what do? You say, okay, why not doing something? Why not doing it now? And you see the reaction. Oh, okay, it's a good idea, it's a bad idea, okay. And then when you're moving beyond that sort of resistance, why are you asking for something else? Look, I see this sort of improvement would be much better and would easily fit into our plan rather than this large request came into the very last moment, right? And then you move to the evidence part, which is, okay, this is the effort, this is the man days, the weeks, the effort that we have to do. This we are going to drop. We'll do less maintenance work if we want to focus on that, or we'll do less security or whatever else. We can't do it alone. We have these dependencies. Now you're making them part of the solution. You're presenting them something that actually shapes the solution. And the thing that you will actually achieve when doing that is that they will come back and tell you, okay, fine, but it's your job to fix that. And yes, they are right. It's your job to fix that. But the thing is, how do you sell to them that it's your job, but you still want to advise with them, to have them as partners? So what you're going to say is, because this is impacting all of us, and because these are the dependencies from other teams inside the company, I count on you, and I'm looking for your blessing and support in sharing the impact of those dependencies with those teams. That would help me unlock and make everybody successful. In most cases, the reaction will be highly positive. There is goodwill. Everybody wants to be successful, and if you put it like that, they will accept it. And that's how you get to the partnership position. Now, as a sum up for this team, let's say, I would say it's this: trust is the only currency, and that's earned by delivery and not granted by title. First, manage to deliver what you promise at the expected quality level, then start being a product manager. However, the moment you stop asking who uses that and why, you are jeopardizing your role in the future. So you don't want to forget that. Now, in a roadmap exercise or a working session with such a committee, I'm always getting back to something when I see the conversation is hitting, and I know it's not easy. So you have to take your gut feeling that you're going to be fine and be brave. And when you see things are derailing, to ask something that is very important, and nobody can deny the answer to that question or the importance of that. And the question is, what's the North Star we protect? What's our North Star? Because in the end, if you look at things, they all filter into things that help you reach the North Star and things that are adjacent. And what you want to do is to focus on the North Star. So that will not be denied to you. Okay. We've talked about a few things. Let's look at success metrics. I find them equally important in the conversation with any stakeholders and also for myself as a professional. So the challenge, we have usage stats, the usual suspect, but we don't know if they are relevant because they're shaped into the internal process, procedures, and policies. As we said earlier, the thing is, this adoption was actually manufactured because somebody wanted to replace a process or another tool, with this new platform, right? How do you know a feature is actually good for your users? And some of you will tell me we have an internal process and we run an ENPS survey. For those of you that are not fully into the term, ENPS is employee NPS survey. So the same NPS, but run internally for your colleagues. Somehow I feel that's a trap. And I don't feel that they're always candid, and sometimes they're just moving with the crowd. Imagine two political scenarios. The first one, you have a new manager, one that you want to support. The team is in the beginning, want to have a good relationship with the manager, and he's pushing for a new platform. Do you think they will actually tell that it's not right, or they will support their managers and hope for the best in the future? I would make some sort of a bet that they will give a positive feedback, and that's not necessarily how they feel about it. Then I would take another scenario. It's a team with a well-established, well-successful manager, well-seen, and they don't want to change the platform, not because it's the best, but at least they know how to play around it. They know how to work around it. And again, you have a new guy or a girl that you're hiring as a product manager for the platform, and you're telling them, okay, see what's the situation as is today. Okay, I'll run on ENPS. What would they actually put in there? They will say it's fine. They don't want another change. They got accustomed to the status quo. They know what's in there, and that's it. Now, let's get to the delivery KPIs, right? So on time and on budget, they are important. Again, they established your base credibility with the organization and with your key stakeholders, but they prove only that you shipped. They don't prove that it mattered. So what can you do? Where can your focus be? And the way I see it, it's this: time saved per process cycle time. That's for any given platform around around the company. So it's solving a problem, it's mapping a process. If you can save time, you did well, at least that. And then if you take something more larger and abstract as a context, the outcome the platform exists to move, that's the thing that you're supposed to solve, nothing else. And more important than that is that how to put it, like that. The outcome the platform exists to move, it's always one, not many. You want to have distribution data in a single place. You want to have accurate marketing budgets. That's the core. Everything else is just additional. You want to manage the release dates of something, having the release date in there, the final release date, and make it visible to, I don't know, 10 different types of users is the critical thing. Nothing else. The rest is just additional. That's why I say going back to the outcome, to the North Star, and always keeping that in mind, that's critical. If you don't forget that, you're on your path set for success. Now, there is something more that is interesting in the conversation, and I find it hard to tackle in many cases, like getting to the core of the things, and that's the competitive analysis. Now, see about that. So, I've tried to abstract it into something that is easy to digest, and that's what it got to out of my head. So, what's the typical understanding of competitive analysis when you're talking about an internal platform? At the basic level, you're saying that there is something off the shelf. So there is something you can buy, and will do part of the solution to you, right? And the general problem is going to resolve. And probably, if you don't get very much into the detail and is doing, I don't know, 60-70%, most of your solution, your resolution, you will be happy. More than that, you will start to be pissed off of your own company and your own colleagues because it has a great look and feel, which internally you don't have all the resources or the motivation, the arguments to build it, right? Okay, so that's the basic. On the advanced levels, what you have is that you're starting to look on other companies, on vendors that are doing platforms similar to what you're trying to achieve. So they put complexity in place. They look by industry. Okay, that's a platform for that, for finance. That's a platform for, I don't know, e-commerce and so on, right? And you look for that, and they give you that platform, and they also give you customization services on top of it, especially for your business. But you don't like that as well, because that's not helping you make all the customizations that would actually make you happy, will not give you the entire context to make you happy. So it becomes basically a trap, right? And the trap is, off the shelf product is not solving my problem. I don't want to put money on a platform and to be customized for me. So what do? Either I develop an internal platform, either I get lost in workarounds. And the thing is, what's the workaround? The spreadsheet. So the people that are just going for the Excel and doing all the computation and all the evidence by themselves, the email that you use to ask for an approval, you ask for additional information, the workaround. The workaround that is done by an expert. So one guy that knows more about how things can be done, right? And we've always done it this way. And that is going to be a big, let's say, blocker for you to progress. And now the opportunity is that understanding what substitutes what will actually make you successful, what you're actually replacing. A person, leaders, an Excel, another tool that will actually give you a more understanding of the outcome and how that can be properly implemented. So my takeaway for that is you win on fit and friction removal, not on features. Yeah. Okay. And in
Mihai,
the end, yeah,
my
please go ahead.
apologies. My apologies to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but just a reminder: if we might want to start wrapping up, we're going a bit over time.
Yes, I'm close to completion.
All right.
So, thank you so much for reminding me that. How do you know you're successful? In that case, because in the first one, you know it's the revenue. In this case, the outcome moved, the substitutes lost the game, and the exec who initially called you a blocker now are asking you how we can achieve more. So that's your recipe for success in here. This is how you know you did a good job. Congrats for getting up to this point. The second time is definitely much easier. I don't know. And as final thoughts, I had a few things in here. Be patient. It's a different game. It's a different power game. Ship with full analytics. Build a community around you. It's very important to understand the context of the organization. Understand the power game and take the best out of it. And understand that change management is actually hard, and you are part of the solution and not part of the problem. If you want to connect, that's my link to my LinkedIn profile. And uh, what was the actual most chosen answer on the question? Was getting something with the stakeholders, right? You're still with me, right?
Demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics.
Perfect. Yes, I believe too. I believe too. Yes, demonstrating impact without traditional product metrics. I do also believe that it's critical. And the way I would do it, getting back to that process, that save time per process cycle, that's why what I would actually show. So, hey guys, before that, doing all this information needed 10 people in 1 week of work. Now it's taking maybe the same 10 people, but it's taking 1 day. That's the impact. Or if that doesn't give you enough evidence, I would go, okay, the same 10 people, the same 1 week, but look, the accuracy of the result is much higher. So I would play around with this information to actually show that yes, it's an impact and it's an improvement. Thank you so much. Let's go for the Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Mihai. Thank you so much for that. We'll just change the slides. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mihai, for a wonderful session. And thank you to the audience as well for sticking around. So now we are going to go into a Q&A session. Please, again, either scan the QR codes or you can go on to slido.com and enter the numeric code as well. And please leave us your questions, start leaving them in. We will answer them in this session as best as we can. But we'll give you a bit of time to put in your questions. And before we get to the Q&A itself, I would love to share a little bit more about Product People. If you are new to us, we would love to share what we do and what kind of use cases essentially we cover. So first of all, we offer interim and fractional support. This is when a company needs an experienced product manager or product leader for a limited time period. For example, while hiring, covering parental leave, or even pushing forward an urgent initiative where you need that immediate support. We also go into coaching and advisory. This is more about helping product teams or product leaders improve how they work, coaching clearer processes, product operations, or even better or more stronger performance routines. And thirdly, we also assist with product discovery support. This is when teams need help figuring out, what to build next, validating opportunities, researching users or markets, and even shaping pilots for MVPs. And again, before we do move ahead, would love to share a few examples of companies that we have worked with and supported. So in the B2C realm, we work with companies like eBay, Scout24, FreeNow, Blinkist, probably one of my most used apps these days. And in selected clients as well, the World Health Organization, Localized clients. These are all companies and organizations that we have supported in the past. Overall, we have supported more than 690 cross-functional teams that are comprised by 130 clients, from startups to scale-ups to publicly listed organizations. We are a team of 40 product managers and product leaders. We are all in-house employees. We are basically in-house to ensure the quality of service for clients and a strong career path for the internal team as well. 59% of us are women, all of us in the team, and 60% are within the leadership team as well. All right. And also, I would just like to add that yes, we do promote hiring from within, and we do hire more women than average, thanks to our own policy or ethos of using skills before CVs. So that comes there. Now, for the Q&A session. I do see that we already have a couple of questions coming in. I will read them out, but as I do, and as Mihai answers them, again, everyone is
Mhm.
encouraged to keep them coming in. All right, question number one. Can you elaborate more on how to achieve the partnership that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, so I only see great questions. So great question, and I would say very important questions for today. for today's session. So the way I look at the partnership is understanding what's in it for each party. And I'll give you an example. I think that would help the most. So somebody was coming to me in such a context saying, I really need this data, which was basically a release date for an internal asset, to be in the platform. For me, it wasn't like something really important. It was like, yeah, but that wasn't the critical part that can actually change five times a week before it's going to be the final date for that asset. The idea was that that date was actually validating that the asset is in a final form and can actually be distributed to other people, right? So I would say the one coming to me wasn't the main stakeholders, but again, a senior leader. I couldn't get it. I was like, okay, is it a power play? Like you want me to execute something for you? What's in it for you? And I was like, okay, we can put that for sure, but why do you need that? And the first question, the first answer was because that's how I know somebody looked at it and proposed a date when the asset is complete. And I said, okay, but why do you want that in each stage? Because I want to be informed when things are actually evolving and how they're actually different from what I expect. Then why do you need to know when they actually are falling apart, basically? Do you track that? Yes, I report to another senior leader and they want to be in control and know exactly when we're missing control, when we're losing control. So I would say just go with the five whys as much as possible. That's my example, and try to understand their real motivation, their real what's in it for them when doing something. And while you're getting that, just say also what's your stake, what you're trying to achieve. So your whys to the thing. Hope it answers to the question.
Awesome. Thank you, Mihai. I'll jump to the next question. How do you prevent an internal product from becoming a collection of one off requests from senior stakeholders?
This is probably equally important and equally damaging, and you can't handle that from the very beginning. First of all, because in the very beginning, again, you don't know the North Star. Um, you need to develop your understanding on that domain. So let's say you're working on something that manages internal supply chain, right? If you don't understand their core problem, you will not be able to fix that. Everybody will come and will say, okay, if I have this additional field, I know what is happening in a DC. If I have this information, I know how much it costs. If I have this, I know that somebody that is in charge is going to do that. But it all comes down to one thing: what is the North Star? And the thing is, we will not steer the conversation to the North Star until you have a good understanding of how they actually operate with the platform, and for each of the current features in the platform, how they're actually used to tackle operational chaos. So again, operational chaos led to specific features. Those specific features let you run things and let managers see the progress. Once you understand what is what, you can say, okay, but the North Star is this. And we're already covering that. And when they come to you, you're going to basically put them in front of the mirror. I'm fine with any request. However, look, we have this managed this way. And if we're going to take this request, I don't see adding value to the North Star that we're trying to do it. Can you help me understand that? You will not be able to prevent all of them, but you will start diffusing a lot of them if you go this way. But again, if you don't own the problem space, like really understand it, you cannot have the proper conversation because you don't have the operational argument why it's a one-off and it's not fitted into the larger plan.
Awesome. I do see that a lot of these questions are actually very insightful questions. Mihai, as you mentioned earlier. I love the next one particularly. How do you avoid digitizing a broken process instead of improving the process itself?
Best question ever. Best question ever. And in at least one time in our careers, we all had to deal with that. Um, there isn't a single answer or a recipe for that. The thing is, what they are trying, why they are trying to digitize that broken process. And I've seen, okay, we're doing that because we were unable to track who is doing what, or to know the real status of something. We don't know the real status of something. And then the thing was, okay, we can build that, or we're already having that up to some degree. Why we would continue with that? And in full honesty, you might get to a senior leader that would tell you one of the two things. The first one is we've always done it this way. We don't want to challenge that. At least now we know how much time we spend on which sort of activity with how much impact and cost. And the other one version is when you have a leader that is looking a lot into the future is I would love to change that, but for now I know it's broken, but I don't have enough evidence what would be the proper alternative. So I would say you at least need to start digitizing, not to being in opposition. I don't find that useful in such cases, but build your case for the analytics and the metrics that would help you prove that the process is suboptimal. And in the progress toward the resolution toward what you want, a different process, an improved process, find the partners, the operational partners and leaders that can actually say when you show them the numbers that, hey, that really got my attention. You sparked my interest. I want to work on coming up with something different in the future. That's how it's not very forcefully what I'm saying it at the very beginning, right? Doesn't seem like much of a change. But the thing is, why many of new initiatives fail in a large organization? Not necessarily because the tech is bad, but because the change management was bad. In most of the cases, tech was good. The change management wasn't. Hope it helps.
Yep. Looking at the time, maybe I'll take a few more questions, not too many. Jumping to the next one, how do you manage or let's say prioritize technical debt in an internal product when it does not directly generate revenue?
Yeah. Um, my straight answer to that would be speaking about impact and negotiate. Like be a heavy negotiator, actually. The way I see it is that effort and work is split into three buckets. Imagine the first bucket, and that's the work you need to do to keep the lights on. Uh, the technical debt is also there, right? The second one is new features development, things you need to add. The third one is where you really want to put your skills into place and do the innovation that nobody expects because you are there and you should know something that could be added. So you have all three of them. I would say to anyone asking for more, okay, sure, we can add this new button, we could add this new feature, yes. But if we do that, I don't have the time and the capacity to work on something that needs to be maintained. And the impact is like this. In 3 months, the time you will spend to basically access this screen, run this feature will increase 2 times. The response will increase like, I don't know, to 100 seconds because there will be a lot of data and we didn't have the time to consolidate the data, do partitioning, whatever you want, right? And things like that. So I would say, yes, I hear you. It's fine. Yes, we can drop that, but look at the impact. And the impact should always be put in terms of operational delay, how much harder will be for people to access the platform, to use the platform, or even a complete failure of the platform if you don't do that technical depth. You will get something in returns. I can guarantee you that.
All right. Now, Mihai, earlier you mentioned that, or you said, don't ship without full analytics. Can you give an example of what type of analytics you meant?
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, so the way I see it is build an analytics flow for each feature. So that's the first step of the feature. That's the first event that you're the first action that you're going to track. Okay, started the feature. uh, get the next point, which is the next screen, the first data entry, the second data entry, the first configuration, the third one with the timing, and basically have all these correlated by the feature. So not like the generic types of events, but no, this is as part of the feature. So do the implementation where the core, let's say, the bucket under which you compound all the events and you're looking at the events is the feature. The rest, I think it's quite easy and reasonable.
All right. Then we're just going to take one more question. Management of an operation team is pushing for a solution, but the team members they manage have different needs or requirements. So a bit of a disconnect here. How do you handle this
Yeah,
scenario?
and the operation team is pushing for a solution. The team member they manage have different. So it's a disconnect in the audience, right?
Between the team and the operators within the team, between the management of the team and the members of the team. Yeah.
Okay. I find this similar to the buyer persona versus user persona that it's specific to the B2B space, right? The needs of the buyer persona are different from the ones of the user persona. Uh, I would look how large is the disconnect actually. Like the management wants to have traceability and know how much time people spent in the platform, how much they use the platform. This is one thing that I can view. And the team members being focused on the usability and, let's say, operational weight that is added imaginary to what they need to do. And basically, they need a better experience. So that's how I would reframe it, because otherwise, like I can't see it properly. So how would I handle that? First of all, it's great if you know that's the problem you're dealing with. Sometimes it's hard to know that the management is asking for something to better control or understand the operations, and the people that are using it are complaining about additional complexity that they don't want. It's You made a great step figuring this out. What I would do, go in with the method of the 5 whys to each of them, to each of the party. You need to understand why for the management it's important to have a specific type of solution or complexity in the solution, and why the operating team level, so the members of the team, need something else. Once you understand, you can try to get to a compromise solution. From my perspective, nobody will love you, but at least you will have adoption and not full resistance. I don't have a proper answer to this one, to be honest, but I generally try to get into a balance, right? So between what the other wants, what a party needs, and what the other party needs, and I try to balance them. So to one party I give more analytics, to the others I'm trying to understand how I can reduce the complexity. I go back to the management and tell them, okay, guys, it seems that it's a little bit too hard or complicated each and every time to get this value for this data, right? So would you agree, as an example, to get this data published, copied automatically in the next step of the process? I don't know. Let's take an amount of money. Okay, get it from the last step and put it in the current step. And that's the default. Okay. And if they consider that didn't change, leave it like that. So try to ease the complexity by automating something and getting values from the past. Maybe that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mihai. With that, to our viewers, thank you so much. We will move to the next, or rather, the closing phase of today's live stream presentation, and we would like to let everyone know that Product People is hiring. Uh, And if you would like to become part of the recruitment pipeline, do go ahead and scan the QR code on the left. You can have a look at all of our open roles, and if anything would suit your preferences or interests, we encourage you also apply. And on the right, the QR code is a subscription to our newsletter. And this is honestly a very interesting piece of, let's say, piece of text that we publish every week, and it is one of the reads that I look forward to. And in closing, I would like to share what we are going to be talking about and who we'll be hosting next week, the 11th of August, same time, with the topic When AI Exposes the Operating Model. We will have Kevin Gentry joining us, the Director of Product Management from Hilton Grand Vacations. He will be talking to us about when AI exposes the operating model. With that, I thank you, everyone viewing. I especially thank Mihai for sharing your time and your knowledge with us. This was a wonderfully insightful session. And take care to everyone. We will see you all again, same time next week for next week's live stream event.